everybody's trying to expand their season as long as they can, right?
Yeah.
So that they can keep their labor employed or moving the whole time and just have supply constantly moving. So this group had blueberries basically from the Mexico border to the Canada border.
Wow. All right, good morning. We are live at the 2025 Land Investment Expo in Great Des Moines, Iowa. Luckily not snowing this year like it did last year when we got absolutely dumped on. But so if you hear some background noise, that is why we are just live on location. And this morning I am being joined by Curtis Buono. Did I say that correctly?
Right.
Buono? Okay. He is a managing partner with People's Company Pacific West. And so, well, welcome, Curtis. I'm excited
Thanks
to have
for
you
having
here.
me.
Yeah, I met Curtis a few years ago and we bonded over outdoor activities. So we were talking about like skiing, hiking, all the things. So we talked a little bit about it last night. So I'm excited to get to have you, Curtis, and to kind of talk a little bit about your journey with People's and kind of some of the strategies People's is currently pursuing. And then also from the standpoint of he's located in California, talking a little bit more specifically about California agriculture and how it can be relevant in the wealth advisory space. So Curtis, before we get started into all of that, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I live in California. I live in San Diego. We've got an office in Fresno as well. I'm a broker, the managing broker for our California office. We've got Nevada, Hawaii, and Arizona in our territory as well. So I've been with people since 2020. Previously was doing brokerage and appraisal at a global real estate firm. Wasn't the right fit. I met Steve, like I met you at probably GAI or one of these conferences, and he planted the seed about coming over maybe in 2015, and that was just a long conversation to get us in the door. To be in ag real estate services in America, if you're in the Midwest, to be national, you really need to have a presence in the coastal areas. So he had brought on Adam Weiblet up in the Pacific Northwest, and he was interested in partnering with us in California because we were doing appraisal and brokerage for a lot of like institutional investors and as well as local farmland owners. So we partnered right before the pandemic and kicked it off, and now we're up and running and doing our thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. So a little bit more about like your story of why appraisal, like why land in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, I started originally in commercial real estate, and I did that for like 6 years, and I got to the point where, I mean, I was making good money, but I wasn't learning anything new, and it just kind of bored me. So I had the opportunity to work on appraisal in the agricultural space, and so I moved over to this global firm to do that, and then that quickly opened up the opportunity to do brokerage. It was in a commercial real estate firm, like land is pretty underrepresented, and then like agricultural land is really niche too. So we were able to make it work, but it was never going to get really any support from the company. And so, I just always focused on that. And that was kind of the deal.
Yeah. Interesting. I always like hearing people's stories of like why land, like how they got, especially you didn't come with like an agricultural upbringing or background, correct?
No. And I mean, that's maybe sometimes you would think to the detriment, but like, I mean, I'm a real estate guy. I mean, what I love about doing agriculture in California is, I mean, I've worked on probably 300 different commodities. I mean, from gold kiwis to like, I mean, any of the nut crops you can think of, table grapes, wine grapes, any kind of row crop you can think of, fruit, veg. So that's what I really love about it. I mean, I'm passionate about ag, and then just like the ability to learn all these new things. Like, it doesn't really matter what your background is if you've got the mind for like real estate and investment, and you actually love what you do and like learning and nerding out on like a new variety of apple at the grocery store, you get excited because you're like, oh, cool, this is I get to try this and see something new, or like different product like gold kiwis coming out or things like that. So
that's really cool. That's awesome. I like that story, and I love hearing the varying perspectives, especially people that don't come from like a ag background in the past, because it brings a new perspective that I think is very needed that you would have.
Yeah.
So tell me more about your current role with Peoples. Like, what does your day-to-day look like? Kind of maybe if you can talk about any of the deals you're currently working on, those types of things, whatever you can share.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, day to day, I guess to back up. So we're located in San Diego, primarily, but we've got an office in Fresno, like I said. We don't have the privilege, I guess, that some people have, like live in Fresno and they can only service deals within like a 45-minute drive time in their house, right?
Yeah.
And they're maybe only doing pistachios and almonds and maybe another handful of crops. Like with our institutional client base, like we had to go where and we still have to go where the assets are, right? So like with that, like San Diego location kind of became an advantage because like we don't have ag right in our backyard. So like we went to where the clients had assets, and then also like we just have to learn all these other markets. So like it gave us a really interesting like kind of macro view, like, and also like kind of micro view in all these various markets, which to go back to my day to day, like I've got some diversity of like where I do deals. And so that's like when the San Joaquin Valley is struggling to sell almond orchards, like deals in the desert, Coachella and Imperial, like still slow down there in those markets, but like there's deal flow in those markets. Or so in the last 12 months, I mean, I had over 600 miles from like literally doing a hay farm on the Mexico border to deal north of Sacramento. And the backyard deals like the Coachella and Imperial stuff, we do those all the time. It's just kind of, it's right there, right?
Yeah.
But we bring like a level of sophistication, I think that is unique just from our background. So we work on a lot of off-market stuff, directly shop deals. Like I've been working on a large almond operation that's got a vertical. And so like there's a bit of, it's not just like you put a sign up and put it on your website. And
especially if it's a greenhouse or something, that's just a unique buyer that you're looking for. So it takes more specialization.
Yeah. I mean, we just closed on a greenhouse yesterday, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I don't remember if we were talking about that
We may
before.
have actually talked about this yesterday. What was, if you remember, what kind of crops in the greenhouse?
So initially they were doing peppers.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And then the group bought it, and they were doing potted blueberries.
Okay.
And it was a group that had blueberries all up and down the eastern seaboard. Because I mean, one like being in the multiple markets like we are, like we'll get guys from the San Joaquin Valley that have properties in Coachella, or up in Salinas, or Salinas to Imperial or whatever. So like everybody's trying to expand their season as long as they can, right? So that they can keep their labor employed or moving the whole time and just have supply constantly moving. So this group had blueberries basically from the Mexico border to the Canada border.
Wow.
And so they just extend their seasons, and then they had a South American operation too, so they could have basically the entire calendar covered.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, so that it was last used for the potted blueberry thing, but that didn't really pan out.
Yeah.
Because they didn't really think about the cooling that they needed, so they were trucking fruit up to the San Joaquin Valley, which impacted quality.
Yeah.
And so
Well,
one
tell
of those
me,
kind of unique things you see.
yeah, tell me a little bit more for our listeners that aren't familiar with Californian agriculture. I mean, most people don't realize it's the top agricultural producing state.
Yeah.
So kind of talk a little bit, you've already touched on this, the diversity of agriculture in California. Maybe touch on, some of the risks in California agriculture. Obviously, water is one of the biggest ones. And right now we are sitting at a time where, part of the Los Angeles area is burning because of
Right.
wildfires, and there's lack of water resources. So kind of just give me the landscape of California agriculture.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's by far the biggest ag producer in America. It has been. I think Iowa's making strides towards us, but I mean, we're like 54 billion. I don't know the exact to the minute number, but 54 billion, say, of production value. And I think last time I looked, and this was maybe a year ago, Iowa's 30, 32, maybe something like that. Because they really popped the last time I looked. I think normally they were like about half of what we are. Yeah. And I mean, we, nut crops, we export like 67% of those abroad or so, give or take 70%. So, I mean, we're leading producer globally for almonds, and then we're just, a huge player in a lot of different commodities. A lot for domestic, but we do export a lot as well. It's all, I guess it's not all irrigated, but it's largely irrigated. The water system we have is pretty audacious. It's incredible what has been done, plumbing, moving water across the state. There's a really interesting book called Cadillac Desert that's about that. Probably doesn't sound very interesting, but it's really well written. You'd actually maybe enjoy it.
I probably would like it.
They talk about was John Wesley Powell, I believe, discovering I guess he was the first man to boat the entire Colorado River and chart it out and stuff. And it kind of starts with the exploration and then the development of the resources and the aggressive building we had across the U.S. for water projects back in the heyday, after the Hoover Dam went up. Anyway, so yeah, we've got, incredible plumbing throughout the state. Water will move from the Sacramento Delta to, all the way down through the plumbing to San Diego. And then we've got groundwater as well. That's been a very publicized deal. We overdrafted that significantly. So we put a lid on that, and we're supposed to have all our basins be sustainable. So withdrawals equal to the recharge basically by 2040. And that's well underway. Historically, we've overplanted things, right? And so that SGMA, Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, lid that's kind of getting put on the irrigable acreage. There's people that are going to get pinched because water is getting, call it, taken away or restricted, but it's also kind of needed. The almond market after nuts came off, they had a pretty rough go for several years. They finally started coming back. So it's because when people are making money hand over fist, we all run to the same thing and plant that if we can.
That is true. That's kind of leading me right into my next question. You and I had a conversation about this a little bit more last night, but kind of talk to me about some of the trends in land that you saw in 2024 and kind of what your expectations are around this next year, which I know is difficult to have that crystal ball.
Yeah. I think 2024 is going to be an interesting year. There's a lot of external factors right now that are unknowns, right? With as far as the trade wars, if that materializes, the labor issue as well. That's going to impact, vegetables and table grapes, maybe wine grapes, citrus, things that are hand harvested, cherries, more than it's going to be hitting something that's mechanically harvested, right? Like almonds or pistachios. So if you set those unknowns aside, almonds have rebounded a bit. If that continues without these external factors, I think we're going to see orchards start to move again. There's been a lot on the market the last few years. There's been some financial distress in the almond space, and we're gonna have some big deals hitting the market this year that are distressed deals. So we're gonna, hopefully work through that. Hopefully that stuff's gonna sell. And normal deals are gonna get done too. I think there's still people that need to recapitalize. So they maybe are gonna sell portions of their operation. What I've seen lately, unfortunately, has been like folks that have larger portfolios want to hold on to the good stuff, right?
It's true.
And try and sell the bad stuff, but it's been a bad time to sell the bad stuff. It used to move when everybody was desperate for deals, but now it's harder because the market's been pretty populated with deals.
We've seen that even like locally in Iowa, Illinois, the I states in particular. And so it's interesting because California, especially as we look towards the Trump administration, as of today, will start, in a week. And so he obviously has made a lot of claims about immigration and about, wanting to close borders. And California relies a lot on, migrant workers to actually, pick these fruits and vegetables, which we talked about is probably going to be something to look for this next year when it comes to trends too.
And I just don't know what it's just it's so tough to tell what's going to happen. There's concerns. There's real concerns, and it's legitimate. We made it through last time. So I think farmers are naturally optimistic.
It's true.
And so I think they're hoping and praying that we get through it and things don't get shaken up too much. But there's definitely concerns, and then there's concerns about inflation as well, and retaliatory tariffs are other things that people are really worried about, but you can't do anything about it. Right. So
if I was, let's say I'm a wealth management advisor, or maybe an institutional, I've got institutional capital, and I'm looking at California specifically. What should I be looking at in California specifically at this point in time?
The fundamentals really, which is a boring answer, I guess, but like when you stray from that, it's when you get in trouble, right? So good water, good reliable water, strong production characteristics, and reasonable pricing if you're looking to buy, right? And so I've kind of hit on some headwinds we've had lately. Some of our commodities have been kind of not doing great. Like I said, almonds have rebounded, but we are in an interesting point. Like, there's a real opportunity to buy like high quality assets. Like it's a generational opportunity, I would say. Like, I didn't think we'd get here. We don't have as many, like, call it government supports that prop our land values up, in my opinion, as you get in other parts of the country. So we're really at the whim of the market and capitalism and everything. And so there's high quality deals that I never thought would be available, that could be bought. And
Nice.
If I had $1 billion, I'd be so focused on just going and putting like an A+ portfolio together that you could actually buy right. If you're long and you believe in California ag, it's gonna contract with water, like I mentioned. It's just gonna have to. But climate change, if you believe in it, is going to continue to be a factor. But you can, the quality of products we produce in California is, A+.
It's second to none.
It's just essential to, our domestic food security and our national and state economy.
It absolutely is. I think when we look at any of the states, I'm in Illinois, so I impartial to Illinois
Sure.
as the breadbasket, but what California really encompasses all aspects of agriculture, and it's going to be very, very important. So on that same note, wrapping up here, let's see, we have an institutional capital or some institutional capital, and they want to get in touch with you to maybe look at some deals. Where can they find you?
Yeah, I'm on the People's Company website. I mean, do you want me to give you my phone number and email?
No, we'll have your email for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I'm on peoplescompany.com.
Great.
Curtis Buono. Yeah, and I'm at all these conferences, as you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's Steve Brewer. You can get in touch with me through him or whatever. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Curtis, so much for joining me today. It sounds like it's break time here.
Yep.
So I will let you go and enjoy a little bit of a break. So
Cool.
thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.